Hello Madridistas, and welcome to this live training session coverage from the Palm Beach Gardens, I should say, in Florida. Joined today by Joe Rustling. Joe, welcome.
Hi Jack, very happy to be here. Yes, looking forward to the game next week. Obviously, last night overcame a tough opposition with 10 men, did very well. We're starting to see some of Xabi Alonso's future plans potentially coming into fruition. And yes, very excited for the next game.
That's right, after the second time trying yesterday, the Xabi Alonso era got off to winning ways against Pachuca in Game 2 of the Club World Cup. 3-1 win with 10 men against the Mexican side. Jude Bellingham getting the first, Arda Güler the second in a lovely move, and Federico Valverde making up for his penalty miss in the first game. Now we're watching just the keepers warming up, and I'm sure we'll be seeing the outfield players, and there they are, coming out very soon. Well, let's talk a bit about that game against Pachuca, Joe. Of course, a much better performance than Game 1 against Al Hilal. Was there a big difference in the performance?
For me, yes. I think that you could see just by the patterns of play. I think Arda Güler fit into that system fantastically well. I think he is really going to be a key player going forward this season. I thought Gonzalo Garcia again, excellent. I mean, I think both the first two goals came from him and came from his hold-up play, whether it was flicking around the corner on the halfway line or him setting up Güler to nicely finish the second.
It might not be that pretty, and it's certainly not very modern, but there's a lot to be said about Gonzalo Garcia's style and that hold-up play. I thought, especially in the first game, aside from his goal, just chesting down some of those goal kicks, really linking up the play, letting the likes of Vinny Rodrigo run either side of him while he holds the ball up. He offers a lot to the team, doesn't he? And perhaps could be number 2 striker this season.
He does. I mean, there was a lot of talk last year about Joselu and how Real Madrid didn't really well. They obviously signed Kylian MBAPPÉ, maybe the best forward in the world, but he's a very different player to Joselu, very different to Gonzalo Garcia. And I think it's something that, for the next season, it's definitely an option for Xabi Alonso going forward. I think he's the perfect man to play that role. I mean, yes, he's young. Yes, he's sometimes a little bit naive in front of goal, for example. But you can see the signs are there. You can see he can hold up the ball well. He can bring players into it. And that's how the first 2 goals came about.
And most importantly, he can score goals too.
He can score goals too, yes. I mean, 25 goals for Castilla last season. He's got bags of potential. And I think this tournament might be one to catapult him into the framework for Xabi Alonso.
Well, it doesn't look like we're seeing Kylian MBAPPÉ in training. Of course, he's still recovering from a bout of gastroenteritis, and that could mean even more minutes for Gonzalo Garcia up top for Xabi Alonso's team. Well, I was going to ask you for a man of the match, standout player from the game against Pachuca, but I think I can guess your answer.
For me, Arda Güler.
Yeah.
I think he was fantastic. I think, for me, Real Madrid are a better team when he's in the starting 11, when he's linking up. I think that he connects the middle and front line so well. I think that might have been something missing last season. Obviously, you had the 3 star-studded attackers of Rodrigo, MBAPPÉ, Vinicius Jr. But connecting that in the midfield maybe would have been one of the areas where it could have been improved. And I think Arda Güler drifts into the space so nicely, just finds those holes and can really connect up the play.
It is strange because in the press conference before the game, Xabi Alonso was asked about Arda Güler, and he said that he agreed with the journalist that asked him the question that Arda has to play on the right, getting closer to the ball, staying on that right-hand side as a winger, if you like. But he kind of fooled us all. Started him in the centre of the park, whilst Fede Valverde was starting out on the right-hand side, and to great effect. And we've seen him play through the middle. There was that game at the end of last season against Getafe where he started in quite a deep role. And as you said, really influential in the build-up play, really influential in just pulling the strings and, letting the team function around him. As you did hint, we are starting to see maybe traits of Xabi Alonso's Real Madrid. Definitely still early to tell, with just 2 games in and less than 15 training sessions under his belt. It's very much still a work in progress, but we're starting to see the results. Based off of that game against Pachuca, what can we say are we seeing of Xabi Alonso's football? Anything that stands out to you? Any traits in the style of play?
I think, obviously, the reminiscence of Carlo Ancelotti's Real Madrid is still there. The directness at times, the quick play going forward. That is Carlo Ancelotti's Real Madrid on the counter-attack. But I think the difference with Xabi Alonso, you're starting to see maybe a few more patterns in play. You're maybe starting to see a few more triangles between the players. I think you can see almost they're building a connection between one another that was maybe a little bit lacking under Ancelotti last season. Obviously, it's very early to tell. I still don't think we've seen what Trent can do. I think he's almost, I don't know if it's nerves. We've barely seen him get forward in the first 2 games. He seems to almost like be holding something back in that regard. I don't know if it's nerves, I don't know if it's just his first couple of games for Real Madrid. He hasn't played badly. He's defended well. He's done his duties there very well. But going forward, I don't think I've seen him put in many crosses that we know him so well for.
Yeah, you and I both have seen a lot of him with Liverpool, and I'm sure many of those listening as well. And as you said, yeah, he's synonymous with almost constantly being in the opposition half, always switching the play, always putting in crosses. And yeah, we haven't seen too much of that, whether that is Xabi Alonso's instruction or, as you said, maybe just himself focusing on covering the back and not getting caught out going forward. But it was a 3-1 win for Real Madrid, despite playing with 10 men for about 85 minutes. A hugely impressive performance. The player said after the first game against Al Hilal that they're trying just to keep the ball as much as possible, not do too much running. And the fact they had to play with 10 men for 85 minutes and had to dig deep and run about, probably chase possession at times and not have as much of the ball as they would have liked. Really impressive from the team, and speaks a lot about the team's fitness, even after having such a short break. Elsewhere in the FIFA Club World Cup, Man City beat Al Ain 6-0. Salzburg, Real Madrid's next opponents, drew a stalemate with Al Hilal. Juventus 4-1 Wydad Casablanca, and then a goalless draw between River Plate and Monterrey. Fluminense beating Ulsan HDFC 4-2. Real Madrid somehow avoided another South American upset. It seems like this tournament we're just seeing the South American, especially Brazilian teams, causing all sorts of upsets, and it's been very entertaining so far, the Club World Cup. It's been different.
I've enjoyed it. It is different. It's a different tournament that I think I've seen in my lifetime. Very different to the Intercontinental Cup that we see on a yearly basis. It feels like, obviously nothing else can feel like a World Cup, but it has that feel when you see underdogs like Botafogo beating PSG. That gives you almost that feeling of when a big gun loses in a World Cup group stage. And we're seeing these teams be competitive. There was a lot of talk before the tournament. What will the group stage will it be like? Will the European teams just run away with it? But we have not seen that at all. And we have seen PSG lose, who won the Champions League last year. If they can lose, anyone can lose.
Seen Chelsea lose to Flamengo. All sorts of upsets in the competition. Thankfully, not so far for Real Madrid, apart from that opening draw against Al Hilal, who were, it must be said, very, very impressive against Los Blancos. Next up, though, is RB Salzburg, the Austrian champions. And I know you've done your homework, Joe.
I always do.
What can you tell us about RB Salzburg?
Well, we obviously saw them in January in the Champions League, in the group stages. Real Madrid very comfortable that day, 5-1 victors. But obviously, they're known as being the dominators of their division in Austria. Obviously not one of the most lucrative divisions in Europe, but they've done enough to qualify for this tournament, which is a testament in itself. They've been relatively impressive so far in the group stages. I mean, getting a point against Al Hilal is a great result for them, I think, considering how impressive they were against Real Madrid, which shows that this next game is not going to be any walkover at all.
And looking at the team, is there any players that perhaps we should be wary of, looking out for?
Well, obviously, Oscar Gluck is the standout player, scored in that first game against Pachuca. And one that's caught my eye recently is the goalkeeper, Christian Savicitsky.
Very well done.
Who's 18 years old and actually made his debut last week against Pachuca, but kept a clean sheet last night against Al Hilal, looked very impressive in those first 2 games. He's apparently played very well for the reserve team in the Austrian second division last season.
You tell me you don't watch the Austrian second division?
Well, it depends on my schedule, really. But no, he's looked very impressive, and he could be a breakout star from this tournament.
Yep, so Their draw last night took them equal on points with Real Madrid in Group H to 4 points. Real Madrid with a 1 goal better off in the difference. Al Hilal on 2 points, and Pachuca 2 games, 2 losses, -3 goal difference. It's looking like at the moment Real Madrid could be facing Man City in the next round of the tournament. Seems like no matter the competition, no matter the circumstances, Real Madrid play Man City in every tournament every single year. What does that prospect look like for you?
I think that, I'm not sure on the scheduling for the last game, so I imagine that Manchester City play after Real Madrid?
Yeah.
Or they play after. So obviously who comes first and second in that Juventus-Manchester City group depends on that result. It could be that Real Madrid win the group, play against Manchester City in second, or the other way around, Manchester City win the group and Real Madrid come second. It's all up in the air. Obviously Juventus would be the favourable tie.
Yeah.
But it's kind of out of Real Madrid's control. The only thing they can do is win that final group game. And I guess, I mean, Real Madrid have quite a lot of success against Manchester City over the last couple of years. Of course, they made a couple of signings recently, which could be a threat. But it's just intriguing. I think this is all part of this FIFA Club World Cup, isn't it? I mean, you see in a World Cup these big nations come up against each other in the early round. You see it in the Champions League. I mean, Real Madrid against Man City was a playoff tie in the Champions League last season. So it's not abnormal. And obviously, if you want to win it, you have to beat the best. So it will just be another hurdle Madrid have to overcome.
Looking ahead to Real Madrid's next game against RB Salzburg, we're seeing players come back from fitness, likes of Camavinga, Ceballos too, all coming back into the fray. Would you make changes? Antonio Rudiger too, now fit after his operation. Eder Militao. Would you make changes or keep that team that's pretty much been the same in the first 2 games?
It's a difficult one because this is always the debate when it comes to these sort of competitions, is that...
Do you prioritise fitness?
Do you prioritise fitness or do you prioritise consistency and getting a rhythm? And I think with it being the new Xabi Alonso regime, I think consistency is more important than anything. Obviously the heat is tough. We heard Jude speak last night about the pitches being tough to play on as well.
Yeah.
But I think they have to prepare to play against a very good team in that last 16. It will be either Juventus or Manchester City, most likely. And that is absolutely no easy fixture. And they need to prepare, and I think the best way to prepare is to get this system going, get back into the rhythm of it. They haven't played, obviously that Al Hilal game was getting started. Yesterday was with 10 men, that to adapt very well, but maybe wasn't how Xabi Alonso ideally wants to set up.
Yeah.
I think they need one more game, one more 60, 70 minutes in the tank, get the job done, win the group, and then maybe bring on some players to rest.
You are seeing Dani Carvajal in training too. Hopefully it won't be too long until we see him back on the pitch. It's been so long since that terrible injury for the right back, and that could open up possibly some more opportunities for Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think there's a chance we might see him playing in midfield. We know that both Liverpool and the England setup have tried that experiment.
I think that with the sending off with Asensio, and obviously he'll be suspended for, is it the next game or next 2 games?
Next game, I believe.
Next game, I think we may see Xabi Alonso's 5 at the back formation. I think we'll see Rudiger come back into the starting 11. I think we might see Carvajal on that right-hand side of the 3, and we may see Trent Alexander-Arnold bombing forward. Obviously, that begs the question who missed out in the attack, because everyone played so well yesterday. You can't take out Valverde, you can't take out Gula on that right-hand side. So it's a dilemma, good dilemma to have. But I think we may see a 5 at the back in this final group game.
Well, looking at Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen team, one player that was integral to his setup was Granit Xhaka. And, you know, the kind of player he is, likes, you know, doesn't cover too much ground, but certainly, you know, likes to spray those passes, really stretches the play. That could be Trent, couldn't it, if you think about his qualities? It
could be Trent. I think that in midfield, obviously, he's a relatively unknown quantity. We've seen him for England. Very rarely for Liverpool have we seen him there. He's obviously got the passing quality to play there, but being a central midfielder is so much more than that, and we just don't know whether he possesses the quality. I've no doubt that he might be able to do it in the future, but at the moment in this tournament, I don't think it's the best option.
And a player we've got to talk about, our compatriot Jude Bellingham, had a fantastic game against Pachuca, albeit playing maybe a bit further back because of the sending off. Do you think that's his future at Real Madrid, more of an out-and-out midfielder, an 8, if you like, rather than where he played in his first season at the tip of the diamond in the number 10?
I think potentially yes. I think that with the attacking quality that there is up front, Jude Bellingham is a great attacker. He's a great number 10. He finds spaces that other players don't find.
I mean, he played almost false 9 a lot in his first season.
Exactly, and I think that he offers something in that attacking position that not many do in world football. However, if you do play him there, you sacrifice one of the flair players in MBAPPÉ, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, and I don't know if Xabi Alonso is prepared to do that. And the beauty of Jude Bellingham is his versatility. He can drop back. We can still enjoy his quality back in midfield, where maybe we see more of his defensive side, his hard-working side, because he can get up and down the pitch. There is absolutely no doubt about it. And, yeah, I think maybe this season we'll see him in a bit more defensive role.
OK, so, Joe, you are Xabi Alonso. You've already said you're playing a 5 at the back. Name me your team.
If I'm playing 5 at the back, obviously, Courtois in goal. Trent, Carvajal if fit. Rudiger, Huijsen. Fran Garcia, left wing-back. I think a midfield...
That's where it gets complicated.
Yeah, this is where it gets complicated because we've got, I think, Tchouaméni, Valverde are not negotiable. I think they start in that midfield. And then that leaves you with 4 players to play. Obviously, you can play either another midfielder and 3 attackers like that, or you can play... We don't know how he's going to set up like that. Oh, no, it's only 3 players left, sorry.
I didn't want to correct.
Yeah, there's 3 players left, so you can play 3 in the attack, where you could see maybe Gula, Garcia, Vinicius Jr. You might see an extra man in midfield and 2 up front, where you can play maybe Gula or Bellingham behind Garcia, Vinicius Jr., MBAPPÉ if fit, or Rodrigo. There's so many options. I don't think I can call it on that attacking front, but I think that is why we've seen a 4 at the back so much already, because there's so much attacking quality, there's too much to leave out. It's a hard call to leave out one of Bellingham, Gula, Rodrigo, Vinicius Jr. And I think that's why we've seen 4 at the back.
I mean, the big question was, before and even after Xabi Alonso joined, was will we be seeing a 5 at the back? Will we be seeing a formation and a system identical to that of the one he utilised at Bayer Leverkusen? But it's not necessarily looking like the case, and he's said various times that, you know, it's not necessarily that important, you know, the system that starts the game or the formation, because that will change throughout the 90 minutes. It will change upon the circumstances, you know. Of course, you know, you go a man down, you're going to have to change some things. And how important, we've said for a long time, Real Madrid have a lot of flexible players that can play across various positions. How important is that, you know, that diversity in both the system and the players that you're utilising?
So important. I mean, I just listed there in that starting 11 the amount of different players that can play in different positions, especially across the front line. You also have Valverde, who's been seen at right back. Obviously shouldn't be needed now that Trent is there. We've seen Camavinga at left back. We've seen Tchouaméni at centre back,
who's been brilliant at centre back.
Exactly. So I think that we could see so many options. We might even see in that back 5 Tchouaméni drop into that back 5 so that he can utilise maybe Valverde and Bellingham as a 2 in midfield. There's so many options because of the versatility of all of these players, and I think that might have been the transfer strategy over the last few years, by young, versatile players that can work well in any system.
Well, we've just had the final whistle from our producers. That's all from us, but be sure to watch